Crane, thank you for joining us this morning. How was this Cub convention just reinforced how great the Cub fans are to you?
It reminds us how lucky we are. The people who show up on a Saturday morning in December in Chicago to celebrate baseball and their favorite team, it's not lost on us how fortunate we are to have that kind of support. I had another team in baseball up this week to talk to us about some real estate stuff, and they're talking about the hopes and dreams of that team to try and build a fan base that looks like ours. And with 150th anniversary, it reminds you, like, it takes a long time, but it takes just this incredible passion and love for the building we play in and for the team that we have. So we just feel blessed.
So the last time you were on Inside the Clubhouse, we came out pretty hot, and we asked right away. It was like, all right,
what do you mean we?
Okay, me.
Yeah. Thank you, Bruce.
Well, it was pretty direct, but it was pretty much what the fans that are here were wondering as well, the disparity between revenue and spending. And here we are more than a month later, and the context has certainly shifted. Over the weekend, as we heard Alex Bregman being asked about what jersey number he will wear. Number 3 because he wants a 3rd championship, and that was all well and good. But he is here because the Cubs made a significant commitment, a massive contract. 5 years, $175 million. Alex Bregman will be here, and I have said that as long as the contract is, that's when the World Series window is open. What does this say about the Cubs' commitment to winning? And was there any shift in emphasis or that commitment?
So it's a really good question. We have a commitment to winning every year. There are realities. I think we talked about this last time we were on. Like, we had a commitment to win in 2012, but there were realities that probably made that a difficult mission. Coming off 92 wins, seeing young players step forward like so many did last year, you see an opportunity, a real opportunity to try and put another title on the board. And, what happens in the offseason, we talk about it. Tom, Jed, Carter, and I sit down and we talk about the resources that are available and the players that are available. Like, if you look at the free agent class next year, it's not the free agent class of this year. So you look at all the variables, like who else is going to be available. You look at where our payrolls are. You look at the tenure of the players we have and which players will be losing potentially after the 26 season. We put all that into a conversation with Tom, and the answer was we're going to push the chips in this year. So that meant Bregman. That meant an important trade for Cabrera. The bullpen, which I think have made some nice progress on, and we're not done. And so we just keep looking for ways to make 2026 a special year.
You just said you're not done, which is, we can't play that enough or more often, because it means that there is still residual dollars, but also the currency of being able to trade other players fitting into the mix. There's great players out there. There's another great pitcher, Zach Gallen's been out there attached to the Cubs for a long time right now. So what you said really resonates right now. We're pushing our chips in. How much of that starts with Tom, moves down to you through the baseball department?
Well, as with most things in our building, it starts with Tom. And I say it and people think it's just pandering, but like we have really great ownership that are, they live here. Tom goes to every game. He's very visible to our fans. He's available to our fans. And he feels it. He grew up across the street from Wrigley Field and met his wife in the bleachers. It's a passionate, real thing for he and his whole family. So it starts there, and and it becomes a little bit a formula, right? Where I talk about like every available asset goes back into the team, and the fans don't really want to hear that from a person like me. They're like, listen, just tell us you're going to get the players. You're a tool in the toolbox, but we just really want to talk about players.
Right.
And so I have to go through this because David forces me to each year. I go through this description of how the formula works, but it starts with Tom saying push all the resources over to Jed's side of the ledger and generate as much revenue as you can. And so the answer to your question a long way is it all starts with Tom.
So there's some big picture things we want to get to you about, but I think let's take care of some details. Number one, what happens if there is a work stoppage and the 2027 All-Star game at Wrigley Field is in jeopardy? Number two, people hear all gathered here. Where can we watch Marquee next year? Is it going to be on Comcast? And believe me, as a CHSN employee, I know that question, how it can maybe come up often. And then people wonder about this year's Hall of Fame class. John Lester, Jody Davis, and I loved it, Vince Lloyd as well, and how that all came to pass. So there's 3 little things I wanted you to address.
Yeah, let me rip through them. So the 27 All-Star Games, super excited. It is a 2-year endeavor. So you get awarded the game, and then you have a 2-year build-up. The league requires us, for instance, our whole team to go attend the game. We went to Atlanta. We'll go to Philly to get ready for ours. I can tell you the media inquiries are already beyond where we were for the World Series games. This will be, because it's been, at the time we play it, it'll be 37 years since we had it, Wrigley Field, and its importance in the game of baseball. It'll be the Woodstock of All-Star games. It's going to be one where everyone says, were you there? And so we're very geared up for it. We're excited about 27. In the event it isn't played, the 28 game will be awarded this year because, again, it's a 2-year cycle. So 28 will go off the board in 26. That will leave 29 available for us if for some reason we aren't able to play it this year. We don't expect that to happen, so we're all systems go for 27. Comcast, yep, we are available on Comcast. We got put on a different tier in October, as you both know, so we're on the ultimate tier on Comcast. If you're a Comcast subscriber and you're not on the ultimate tier and you're expecting to see our games, you will need to upgrade your package. And the third was the Hall of Fame, which Bruce is intimately involved in. Each year, postseason, we get together and talk about qualified players. Our great team historian, Ed Hardig, puts together an exhaustive list with amazing data and support for players. And you are not eligible to be in the Cubs Hall of Fame until you have finished 5 years outside our organization. So a player like Anthony Rizzo has not done that, so was not on the ballot. And it is, and Bruce, you're there for these scrums, which include, a dozen media members and former Hall of Famers. It's really hard, and you should speak to this. There's incredibly qualified, not just players, but people. And so like Vince Lloyd, we have, one of the issues we have, because we really kind of put emphasis behind the Hall of Fame in the last 5 years, when you go back in time, there are players and others who gave so much to our organization, like Vince Lloyd, it's hard to really see them getting in on the 75% vote. You need to get 75% of the ballots to get in because they're just, not quite as relevant because of the recency. So we created a new category this year where we said, listen, if you have committed a lifetime of service to our organization, even if it may be someone who is no longer with us, someone who played maybe in the early, teens, we want to create it's almost like the Veterans Committee, like a special category. And super excited to get Vince Lloyd in.
Very smart.
And Vince, you campaign and champion because you probably played with some of those players in the teens, those older players and older personalities. And Bruce always pounds the table for, we can't neglect those who were here 30, 50, 70 years ago. And so really fun to get one of those people in.
But it happened because of you.
Holy mackerel, that was a good idea, Crane.
Yeah, and also the legacy of this thing, I was with Hobie Milner, one of our new relievers, yesterday, who's played for a number of teams, but has never seen anything like this. And his eyeballs were coming out of his head. And I said, that is because of players like Jody Davis and our favorite Ryne Sandberg, and what those players did to create this legacy. And like the 2016 team, we celebrated with our party on Thursday, and I said to them when we were together, they created that next level of commitment and specialness, and so we're just the beneficiaries of all their work.
The first class way that those players have already told me they were treated again Thursday, that it reaffirmed how important and how great that accomplishment was, but also how important the Cub organization is to them. So bravo to you guys, because I've had 7 of them tell me the way that you guys went about it Thursday was unbelievable. Can you talk a little bit about that and that night, and not the drunkenness, but the other parts of it?
Yeah, so we had a dilemma. So it's the 10th anniversary, and we're going to celebrate that team, and we're going to celebrate that team forever. But the 10th anniversary was an important one. The fact is we have a number of players still playing. You know, Chappie's playing and Schwarby's playing and Javi's playing. And then you have a number of official, you know, you have, you know, Brandon Hyde, who's now coaching down in Tampa. You know, Timmy Buss, right, who's still working in Anaheim. So if we just did something in the summer, we wouldn't be able to invite back all the still playing players and other team executives. So we decided we're going to do it twice, a little bit like going to the White House twice when we won, right? So we're going to do one in the winter when we can invite and hopefully have them attend, and then we'll do it again in the summer. So July 17th, we're going to celebrate the 2016 team with our fans at Wrigley. And then we decided the winter event should be for the players. Like, it's a chance for them to reconnect. It's a chance for them to celebrate together. As much as we love our corporate partners and media partners, we're going to keep everyone away from. And then we said, where are we going to do it? Well, let's do it in their old clubhouse. So Jen Martindale, Jim Obojkowicz, Megan Gazer, they just went all in, and we recreated the clubhouse to look exactly like it did when they were there. And so I saw Alvaro Morris standing in front of his locker where it was, with his nameplate, with his jersey.
So cool.
And this time with his wife. So a lot of, you think about it, in the 10 years hence, like, things have changed. They all have children now. They have, some of them have wives. And to essentially go into a time machine 10 years back, and then we celebrated the 1914 club, and I remember thinking the morning of, will this be awkward at all? Is it going to be, many of them haven't seen each other in a long time. And then Travis Wood took his shirt off in the first 5 minutes. I go, nope, it's going to be fine. And then it was, the respect they have for each other, the love they have for each other, the respect for the organization, and to see it all spill out in real time, and to see players like Kyle Schwarber and Aroldis Chapman coming back to Chicago again in the middle of the winter to celebrate with his teammates. I got emotional just watching it, and they deserved every minute of it. So yeah.
It was a great celebration of the past, and Crane, as you know, in your role, there's some trepidation about the future and the looming work stoppage. I don't know if that's the right way to refer to it, but the CBA expires, and there's some questions about what happens next. Ian Happ spoke to this issue yesterday. There's about 40 seconds here. It'd be interesting to get your reaction to what he had to say because of the way that he expresses himself and because of his command over what's at stake. This is what Ian Happ said on Friday.
How have players responded to the scare tactics of ownerships talking about lockouts and things like that coming up next December? You've always been strongly involved.
Yeah, I think the important distinction is that it would be a lockout. It wouldn't be the player's choice. It would be the ownership's choice, and hopefully it doesn't come to that, because I think baseball has a ton of momentum, and baseball has been in a great place. The rules changes have worked. The games are faster. People are excited. You see attendance numbers growing. Some of the TV deals that have come in the last couple of years are really great for the game, and so hopefully we continue that momentum and don't put the sport back.
That was Ian Happ on Friday. What'd you think?
I share all of the sentiment about the game has amazing momentum. We had an amazing World Baseball Classic. Then we led into a great season, finishing with an International World Series that had great ratings. The rule changes have worked. Credit to the league for that. And so you're just seeing momentum behind the game, really, really terrific. So to interrupt that with a work stoppage would be devastating for all of us. So clearly all interests are aligned around we have to avoid the work stoppage. That said, there are clearly some things going on in the larger economic dynamic of the game that are pretty difficult. And you see teams with $400 million payrolls, and when you put the luxury tax on it, $600 million committed to labor, and then teams that are spending $80 million. And when the multiple is, I grew up with kind of the Yankees playing that role, and it was 2-to-1 top to bottom. When it becomes 10-to-1 top to bottom, it's not working. And we need to address that. I think there are a lot of ways to address it. That is at a way higher pay level than mine. Thank God that's going to happen at the commissioner's role. But I think the fans see it too, and it's not one person's opinion. Everyone is talking about there's something different.
How do you view, in that context of what you just said, the Dodgers signing Kyle Tucker, a guy that the Cub fans know well, for an average annual salary of $60 million per year. So on one hand, we hear guys who do what you do and care about the sport, and all those things are true, say that there's this disparity, and then you see the Dodgers doing what they're doing, and you think that you want to believe there's hope around the corner, but I don't know how realistic that is to say.
So, people don't maybe believe this, but I'm actually an optimist every day, and you look at the best things that are happening in the game, and the interests are aligned between players and owners, and I sit in a spot in between them, right? I said this to Ian a lot, which is no surprise I'm not a player and definitely not an owner. I just have to manage the in-between, which is losing games would be devastating to our business and devastating to our organization. So I'm committed to doing anything to avoid losing games. That said, I am also looking at the books and looking at what's happening and
revenue share
and the losses.
Yeah.
The league as a whole last year lost over $1 billion. And any business that loses that amount of money over time is not sustainable. So what does that say? It says there has to be some change. It doesn't necessarily mean a cap and a floor. It means we need to all get together, owners and players, and constructively talk about how can we fix what's broken. And I think that's what's going to happen beginning this year. And I'm actually optimistic. I don't think we miss a game. I think that the interests are so aligned, and I think the honesty, listen, the media stuff that we talk about and you are often in my ear on, we just had Main Street last week fold, right? They have 9 teams, and they just threw their cards in and said, it's broken, it's bankrupt, we're out. And so the rights just returned to the Cardinals and the Brewers and all those teams, and they're figuring it out. We had Diamond go bankrupt before that. We had Warner Brothers go bankrupt. So that the RSN business, and the question you asked me about where can we find the games, because they're getting tiered. Like, so many things have changed since the last CBA. You can't just say nothing has changed. We don't have to address it. And so because it's so obvious, I'm super optimistic, because whether it's the player side or the owner side, and again, I'm on neither side, they're looking at a movie that is very, very obvious, and that means there'll be constructive conversations, I believe, and ultimately we'll get to a good answer.
We're all about, I've always been about, the Score's all about breaking news, okay? So let's have some breaking news. Is there the possibility that the 2016 team will have a statue dedicated to them by the Chicago Cubs sometime soon?
Great question. So the statue issue is kind of staring us in the face every day, because there's a podium without one. And if you look at, go to Statue Row and Gallagher Way, there's all of our greats, and then one that's waiting for a statue. We decided not to do a statue for the team because it would highlight 1, 2, maybe up to 5 players. The most memorable photo is the last out and the gathering on the mound, which would be great for us all, the 5 or 6 players that were in that photo, but it wouldn't really represent. And if you think about Game 7 in particular, every single person on the roster contributed, even if it was Alberto Mora tagging up on an important play, in the game. We used, as you know, everyone in the bullpen. And so how we looked at how could we capture the enormity and the comprehensiveness of that team in one statue. So we are going to do a different monument that will feature all of the players. It will be a permanent and much larger than statue monument, and we'll unveil that in July. And I think it'll be very fitting for those players to, when they see it, I think they're going to say that was a really solid representation of their work.
Just to clarify, it won't necessarily have a few players in it. It'll be more encompassing than that?
It'll include every player and every member of the team, because the other thing is, and the players will be the first to say it, yes, obviously the fans focus on the players.
Big statue.
It doesn't happen without Joe Madden. It doesn't happen without Chris Bosio. It doesn't happen, you go through the whole list. And so I think we'll be more inclusive than just the players on the field.
Before we let you go, Crane, have you considered how good Pat Hughes' voice is going to sound on FM? Because February 2nd, the score is 104.3. We're going to FM. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Credit to Mitch and everyone at the Score to recognize like there's a way to somehow there's a way to improve Pat Hughes. and I would say like as we sit here,
You are an optimist.
yeah, like as we sit here and like look out at this cold, snowy day here in Chicago, and like for me, and I said this when we inducted Pat into the Hall of Fame a few years ago, like he's the voice of summer. Like when you hear Pat Hughes' voice, you're immediately taken to Wrigley Field, a warm day, a hot dog, a beer, and your favorite team. And so to give our fans a chance to hear him even better is really smart, and just kudos to your
Pat
whole
Hughes,
team.
High Fidelity, starting
High
February
Fidelity.
2nd
Brilliant.
on 104.3 The Score. Still going to have 670 AM, but 104.3 The Score.